highlighted those various areas. This is going to look like, for example, living Waldorf pedagogy and then some key things underneath that, and that is your vision one.
Yeah, I think it's in terms of an artefact, part of it will be that. I think some art will be part of what it actually is. I think they are just like the clothes. The vision itself is either alive in the school or there's nothing. Pieces of paper are not going to save us. So what we're actually trying to do is to build unity about the direction that we're going in as a school. So I think it's true there will be artefacts like images and pieces of paper, but what it's primarily about for me is better quality decisions about the future of the school. That's how it's going to come to life, and it'll come to life because I think the consultation process will bring out, and particularly in the communications area, but more generally for the vision, ways to bring it to life. So we're not closed. I know as a board that we can make better decisions with a vision than we can without, providing we use it. But I think there are many other ideas about how to do that, all right throughout the school. One of the most obvious ones is we have a charter. So our charter is going to change to reflect our vision in quite significant ways. And that is a document to which we're accountable to the Ministry of Education for delivering. So that will be one way that it'll live, is it'll affect our charter.
So this vision, I mean, just like what you're saying, it states what we want for the school and how we are. So there will also be practical things as to how we're going to implement all of that.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that we're at the sort of coming towards the end of a 7-year cycle, and a chunk of what we want to do is get really clear about the things we're going to do in the next couple of years to practically progress towards that vision from where we are now. And we see that as being part of this process.
And people that have put this vision together now, so far, where it is right now, is that basically the teachers, the board and the trust?
The staff. The staff, the board and the trust.
Right. Yeah. And pedagogy, is that basically philosophy?
It's the method of education. It's, is that, Bill, what would you say? How would you define pedagogy?
Yes, the current state of educational thought and practice.
Sorry. Just going back to the first question, I think from what I understood from it was sort of two parts, and you covered that first bit in terms of things aren't necessarily going to be changed just because that's what the body wants. But what I was picking up was that maybe there should almost be like a charter or a remembrance document of what a Steiner school is, just the basic foundational stuff. I know you said it's different for everybody, but there are some basics that, if you come into the school at the kindergarten level, your view of what is acceptable or how we do things is quite different 10 years later. And some of the parents that are having input in this may not have the same experience as some of the parents here, or even the teachers. On a very basic level, it's things about, work around television, our thoughts about that. There are a lot I've noticed of people coming into the community who aren't as aware as you might expect them to be. And I thought that was maybe what that question was pertaining to.
Yeah. One of the things with that is, in fact, it was something that kept coming up when we kept talking about this document that existed, that I'm not sure if it does exist, but it was basically the guide, the handbook. When you first come to the school, what, if you want this education for your children, what is expected of you and to guide you, because exactly that. And also when people who come, as you say, further on down, they come into class 1, they come into class 2, they haven't been through that.
Yes.
And so they come in with their PlayStations and all that sort of stuff, and it can be disruptive and things like that. So again, but that stuff that should be, and hopefully we have those people that can action this stuff, that needs to be in that communication workshop. You say, this is important, this needs to be done.
Yeah. And also,
sorry.
Yep.
I saw a documentary last night, some interesting parts, which has just been made about Steiner and Steiner education, and it would be an excellent introduction to anybody coming into the school. So, have you seen it?
No, but part of it, I think, I would love to, part of it is also, and again with communication, is what are the communication lines? As well as, if you have issues, who do you talk to? What is the hierarchy? You speak to the teacher. Then if you're not satisfied with the answers you're getting, what is the next step from you? So it's kind of also guiding you as in what are the processes within this.
And I think it's important to be aware that not everybody will have the same knowledge base. So, if you're having a workshop and people don't understand what the basic root of Steiner education is, one thing may be why German is so predominant in the school.
Yep.
That's a really important question.
So that each workshop at the beginning is going to have an introduction by the people who have the most knowledge about that area in the school to everybody who's present.
Right.
But I think what you raise, actually both of you, peripherally, is a really big deal for me, which is, I said at the outset that we want a better vision. We will not compromise on that. And the board and the college and the trust actually have responsibility for deciding what that means. That's what we're going to do. And I think it's really important that, not everybody does have the understanding. We know that. We understand that. It doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't know anything about Steiner education can't make a great contribution. They can. It doesn't mean that somebody has a different understanding than the board and the college and the trust do. They will. This is a community of diverse opinions. And we have to do our work. And I think, particularly you as parents, to respect that there is a depth of understanding in the school you probably don't understand about what Steiner education really means here for us. We're working at that all the time. It's a very powerful force that's alive in the school. The centre of it, right the centre of it, is the College of Teachers. That's what it is. That's, as an organ in the school, its job is to do that. But there's no easy way into that. There really isn't. And I think to at least appreciate that that's the truth. That is just the truth. But that doesn't mean you're not entitled to your own point of view. You are. I just would encourage you, I think, to, if there are resources that you're aware of, and you're coming to something about the kindergarten, then go and check them out, or go and talk to somebody about them, or get in a group and have a conversation, develop your ideas, do your own work so you're ready to meet the work that's already being done in the school. Because if you're not, it's just going to be frustrating for you, because we're not going to compromise around things that really matter to us. We just won't. We can't. I've already gone to the staff and said, what are your non-negotiables here? And they have the right to have non-negotiables. Of course they do. So we already know what those are, that you'll find out about them if you come to the workshops. There's not a whole long list of them. But this is a school where there are professionals who are doing professional practice at a really deep level to try and deliver excellence in Steiner education. And they try and do that to the best of their ability all the time. So they do have that depth, and that's where it lives. I don't think you'll find it in a book, because it's a body of practice, not just a body of theory. You only really learn about that theory when you actually embody it in what you do day after day after day, week after week, year after year, and then it starts to come to life. That's what our teachers represent in the school. So I do think, though, the point about accessibility to a good introduction to what we think Steiner education means in the school is a great idea. Come to the communications workshop and advocate for it. I'd love to see it.
Maybe the parent group can look at distributing some of that access to that information in advance.
Zoom has some screenings of that document because it's really,
Yep.
really great.
We can put out some links and stuff on the website, distribute some reading for parents.
Okay, cool, wonderful. Any more questions?
Sorry, as part of the final vision in December this year, would you imagine that there will be a process whereby this is a living vision, that things will pop up and so hopefully it won't be another 14 years of these meetings again, because presumably there are going to be things that will change that vision.
I think that's a great question, because this is not a once-a-year event, but it's not a once in 20 years event. It's a once in several years. But the key point for me is that the word living, if it fails to come to life in the school, then the whole effort was worse than useless. We can't afford that. So we are going to bring this to life one way or another. The question is how. And I would like it, for me, there's no real life in it if it's not living in the community. So how to bring it alive in the parent community, in the classroom, so the teachers, so the College of Teachers are actually referencing it when they make their decisions. those are the questions that are part of this consultation process, not just the content of it, but how do we bring it to life. And for me, like the idea of the DHAT about the birthday, that it's the celebration once a year of what exactly have we done in the school towards this vision being alive. Where's the evidence? We should be sharing it with you as a community so you can understand it and give your contribution towards that. So I think every year it should be not only there, I think the Fair Day is another great place where it should be being brought to life and on display in the community. You should be seeing reports on things. When somebody's putting something in the spiral about how they're getting on with an initiative, you should be referencing back to the vision. If those things aren't happening, the vision isn't alive. So, just to put that in context to me, I feel like national standards really mattered in our school and it galvanised us. But compared to having a vision, national standards is a small thing. Having a vision of what kind of Steiner school we want to be and doing whatever we need to do to move in that direction, it's kind of like if you see the school has a destiny, it's trying to articulate, what does that mean? It's got to become conscious at some point. It can't be unconscious. And this work is really trying to unpack that.
And that's also going to give us, again, like if you think of it as a compass, because we're going to be hit constantly by other things. We had national standards, we've got other challenges ahead. The government's just pulled one back, but God knows what they're going to throw at us to save some more money or whatever. So that's going to be a constant thing, that there's going to be these other pressures on this amazing and precious thing that we have. So if we can have that compass that helps us stay on track and helps us be united with what we agree on, which is really important, then that's going to really help strengthen us, I believe. So.
Sure.
The philosophy, this whole we're a Steiner school, and I understand that when Steiner was alive, he had these particular ideas about what Steiner education is, which are fantastic. We are now in 2012 and we're in New Zealand, and those are also relevant things, as relevant as what this Steiner philosophy and education is. So is the mission statement, or what's going to happen here, going to encompass the fact that we are in New Zealand, the fact that we're in 2012?
That's the neat thing about Steiner's view of education. His view included the very idea that you're articulating now. We're in a specific place at a specific time, and that really matters, and that we have to wrestle out of what Steiner education meant originally, something which belongs here and now and is relevant to this place and this time. At the same time, we can't call something which is not Steiner education, but is something else Steiner education. So you have to hold the balance between those 2 points.
I just put in a assignment last week, a Steiner quote that said his education wouldn't really come to its truest depth and meaning for another 100 years. So everything he was talking about is even more relevant now. So don't worry.
I kind of look at New Zealand's a bit like that, isn't it? I mean, you have this thing, and then there's this country, and there's all these people came here. It was a bit of a mess. You had this system from England, which was quite foreign, that came over there. But New Zealand's slowly starting to become its own thing. But we, as New Zealanders, don't really actually, we have the treaty and all that, but do we have an actual vision for what New Zealand's going to be, And so what's important for New Zealanders, what do we want to hold on to? So as a community, that's what we need to do, because we need that guidance, we need that.
There's one other really big fact about this as a Steiner school. We're an integrated Steiner school, and that word integrated is actually a really important part of what we are now, and it affects every aspect of the school. When we chose as a community to get funding from the state, we created a set of obligations that are fundamental to the way that this education gets delivered and what the school is. And part of the work is to understand not just what does it mean to be a Steiner school, but what does it mean to be an integrated Steiner school in Auckland, in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and what is that going to mean in the future? So I think that the biggest failure in the school for me, as the chair of the Board of Trustees, is the failure to communicate the work that gets done to answer that question in this school. There's an enormous amount of work going on, really, really deep work, to understand that question.